King Charles will issue his first Commonwealth Day message at Westminster Abbey. The monarch's message is expected to reflect issues surrounding climate change, supporting free and democratic societies, and promoting peace and prosperity. The king will issue his first Commonwealth Day message next week amid signs of a more political monarchy, 6 months into the new reign. Quite what the message will say has not been decided, but King Charles, who will attend his first Commonwealth Day service as monarch at Westminster Abbey on March 13, is expected to reflect on the agreed theme for the day of uniting to fight climate change, as well as supporting free and democratic societies, and promoting peace and prosperity. The focus on climate change is familiar territory for the king, who as Prince of Wales spent half a century speaking out on environmental dangers facing us all. But as monarch, he may well have to be more measured in what he says. In an interview to mark his 70th birthday in November 2018, he insisted he would not be an interfering king. "I'm not that stupid. I do realize that it is a separate exercise being sovereign," he said. "The idea somehow that I'm going to go on in exactly the same way, if I have to succeed, is complete nonsense because the two situations are completely different." Constitutional experts believe he has more or less stayed true to his word so far, although some observers do see early signs of a more proactive campaigning monarchy taking a stance on issues affecting us all. "He's perhaps more hands-on," said Joe Little, the managing editor of Majesty magazine and a longtime royal watcher. "The king has used his convening powers to bring together politicians at Buckingham Palace to discuss climate change and, separately, protecting nature and biodiversity. He, Queen Camilla and most other members of the royal family have made regular trips to food banks and undertaken other official engagements." Highlighting the cost of living crisis. The king, queen and other members of the family have regularly visited asylum seekers and refugees, while Kate, the Princess of Wales, has begun a fresh campaign designed to influence public opinion and policymakers to provide better support for the nation's children in their first 5 years. Much of Kate's agenda sounds like what Tony Blair's first Labour government started creating in 1998 before much of it was dismantled in Conservative cuts since 2010, providing extra help for young families will inevitably cost taxpayers more initially, although William and Kate's Royal Foundation argues that by intervening early to prevent children from suffering trauma that eventually leads to problems such as addiction, crime, homelessness, and family breakdown, the public purse will ultimately save money. It is a world away from the old stereotype of a ribbon-cutting monarchy, of Elizabeth II opening a hospital and asking people, "Have you come far?" But Dr. Craig Prescott, a constitutional expert at Bangor University who is currently writing a book on modern monarchy, believes the king has stayed within the acceptable limits of what a king should be doing in the 21st century. "You can't expect him to be a carbon copy of his mother," he said. "It's beyond consensus that there is a cost of living crisis, so it makes sense for the monarchy to reflect that," he added, pointing out that Charles accepted the Queen Elizabeth II spoke out on the environment and other issues affecting us all, including the pandemic. She also found herself embroiled in political controversies, such as when Boris Johnson persuaded her to prorogue Parliament to stop Brexit chaos and when David Cameron convinced her to urge Scots to think very carefully about the future before the independence referendum in 2014. Dr. Prescott said the monarchy's constitutional role meant it was inevitably tied up with politics. "It is fundamentally a political institution," he said. "The whole thing is based around